essentially we have a movie with one set, and we needed someone who could really think through what what the best way to keep that set both interesting and mundane to help us tell the story.
Well, my responsibility is the environments that all the drama happens in, be it a location or a film set in the studio or a combination of the two, a set on location. Again, every different set we build and every different film we do is a new set of challenges because they're completely new environments. And I mean, we really are wanting to find something that hasn't been seen before or done before.
Grant was someone who like immediately saw and said like, this is an amazing opportunity. This is, it's one location, but it's spectacular, and there's more elements to this story than, visual elements than maybe some people realize.
Grant Major was the production designer of the Rings trilogy.
If people don't believe in Middle-earth, then they won't believe in dwarves and goblins and things like that. This one here is very much the same. I mean, you've got to believe, you've got to be there, you've got to be there with them on the top of this hill and, sort of be as sweaty and as bloody and as horrified as they are to be able to kind of, experience what they're experiencing.
He was really up for the challenge of doing something very real. Coming off of the films that he's done where he's, where it's been really fantastical and otherworldly and to really work in dirt and stone and blood and those kind of materials, I think was really exciting for him.
I find being as close to realistic as possible actually gives more depth and more value to what we're doing. This film in particular is set in Mexico, obviously, and it's in a Mayan environment, in a historic Mayan environment, so everything had to be sort of designed around that dynamic, if you like.
It's sort of a different interpretation than is in the book. In the book, it's sort of just a mound. And in the movie, we decided to go with the idea that the ruins, that they were actually on these ruins. So that was, a big choice, and that Scott was on board with. And so to come up with the idea of this actual ruins, and I think really gave it a great visual context.
The challenge here was finding a place that put us on a hill high enough so that we'd have an interesting background with a perfect tree line to kind of create the area where the Mayans come out of the woods. So that seems easy on the surface, but once we got here, it became incredibly difficult. So what we ended up having to do is create two locations, and those will be attached digitally.
This, I think, describes quite well these two images about how we've divided up the building of the set. So that's going to be one set piece. The second set piece for the pyramid top is basically the very top plus a couple of terraces down. This piece up here is sitting up in the air by 10 metres for the purposes of separating it from the ground, but also to give it a good backdrop. So we've had to find a location where we can look 360 degrees and see just forest. We've chosen to build the top slightly overscale just to give us more room to work. Of course, there's 6 people that are caught up there, but there's also 30 or 40 members of a film crew, so we have to allow for, quite a lot of room for setting up gear and cameras and all that sort of stuff at the top. So we overscaled it very slightly. We had to start off with what the look of the shaft was going to be. It's very, very deep. It's probably about 28, 30 metres deep. We've had to do a series of sort of pre-visualised shots from the film to see how we break up the building of the set. So this is a cutaway drawing of our pyramid. In terms of how we make it, we're going to be building the top part of our shaft on the exterior location, as I said previously. And then the middle part of the shaft is going to be a generic 10 metres worth of height of the middle of the shaft, so for all those shots when they're travelling down on the ropes and being winched back up again. And then the chamber and tunnel itself will be another set again, so this will also be in the studio. It was quite a tricky thing to design really and to shoot because filming people coming up and down is quite tricky in terms of safety and rigging and lighting and all these sorts of issues. At the very bottom of the hole there is a chamber which is a Mayan-built hall. The chamber itself, I guess we sort of invented this thing about it having some sort of spiritual, maybe astrological meaning to the Mayans, because it's a shaft that's accessible down a hole rather than down a staircase. The only way in and out for these kids is straight down. How often do we actually like roll around the dirt and actually get that kind of close to our environment? I think it's also, to me, there was one or two moments like these, the most horrific moments when Stacey has to cut herself and, you know, like reach in and actually dig around in her own body. I mean, the horror of that has got to be reflected in the horror of their surroundings. I mean, they are isolated, they are dry, hot, they're starting to go crazy, and, you know, so all this sort of environmental thing has got to function the same way.